Welcome to the Gen Z Show. I am your host, James McLamb. And today our guest host with me, my guest co-host is Julia Nags from Tennessee. How are you doing, Miss Julia?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here again.
And when we are recording this, we are just coming through the great polar vortex of 2021. So a lot of our friends today are without power, and we are praying for you as you go through. When this airs, you'll probably be in the safe zone, but we want you to know we're thinking of you today. Today's guest, I have not had as much fun talking with someone and feeling synergy with a guest as I have today with our guest, Miss Amy Looney Heffernan she is the vice president of the Travis Manion Foundation. Now, you may not have heard of that organization before, but after today, you're going to want to look them up and connect with them in a major way. She is a Gold Star spouse and serves as the VP of this organization that really focuses on serving families. Their mission is to create a national and purpose-driven with individuals and communities all across the nation. And they do this by working with veterans and those families of the fallen. And they really they really work with character education for those particular individuals. But there was so much synergy in what we talked about today on what we do at Generation Ziegler and what they do at their organization. Julia, what are some of the things that really stood out to you from this interview that you know that our audience needs to watch?
Mm-hmm. Well, first, Amy has such a personal connection to the work that she does at the Travis Manion Foundation that I just think is so admirable. And because of that, her passion really comes through when we were talking about character education and some of the practical lessons that anyone can gain from their work, regardless of their background. They've reached over 375,000 students alone through their programs, which we really think will create a ripple effect as well as we think about character and some different character traits that we all possess. And I think this is definitely a call you're going to want to get your notes out for and write some of this down because lots of incredible lessons that we learned today.
You're really going to like this. You're really going to want to connect with them, especially if you're interested in teaching any character-based education to your peers or to the youth that you work with. You're going to want to do this because they have some great resources, and all of that is going to be in the show notes for you to connect with. But let's don't delay any longer. Let's jump right into our interview with Miss Amy Looney Heffernan. Amy, thank you for being our guest on the Gen Z Show. I want to welcome you, and it's really nice to meet you. I was introduced to you from a mutual friend of ours, Jason Dodge. I want to do a shout out to Jason to make sure he knows that I appreciate his support of our programs and stuff. So welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, James. It's good to see you and good to take part in today's conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Now, our audience, our younger audience, our Generation Ziegler community, they may not be familiar with you. They may not be familiar with the organization that you're a part of. So if you could just share with them a little bit about who you are and the organization that you're a part of and what they do.
Sure. Okay. Well, I will start off by sharing that I'm a Gold Star spouse. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and probably most relevant for this conversation, I am the vice president of a veteran service organization called the Travis Manion Foundation. And just to kind of connect the dots a little bit, I got involved with the foundation really starting out as a volunteer. Travis Manion, who the foundation is named after, served in the Marine Corps. He was my late husband, Brendan Looney's Naval Academy roommate and best friend. Brendan and I volunteered initially when the foundation started after Travis's death. He was shot and killed by an enemy sniper in April of 2007. And Brendan and I were just, we were very dedicated to the Manion family. We wanted to help and support them in any way that we could. And we felt that, keeping Travis's name, his legacy, his memory alive was something that was incredibly important. And, fast forward about 3.5 years later, in September of 2010, my husband at the time, Brendan Looney, serving as a Navy SEAL, was killed in Afghanistan in a helicopter crash just days before he was expected to return back to our home at that time in San Diego, California. And, for me, I decided to really dedicate a little bit of my life at that point to serving the community. I needed a new community because I felt like with going through those massive losses of losing a dear friend, Travis, and then losing my husband, Brendan, I just needed something to give me that ability to push forward and try to look ahead. Many of us experience obstacles, and for me, that big obstacle was going through loss and dealing with grief. And for me, the Travis Manion Foundation was such a great outlet because what we do is we empower veterans and other families of the fallen to really go out and focus on their own personal development. We teach them about leadership opportunities and how to be of value. And then we basically leverage those self-development opportunities and those leadership skills to go out and be of service and of value to others and to the greater community. And so for me, that was a really great forum for me to kind of get behind and just really put my all in. And having that community, we call our community and our volunteers at the foundation, we call them Spartans. So you'll probably hear me say that a few times, but really our Spartan community is what helped me grow and develop as an individual, and really just helped me put one foot in front of the other, because little things like that can be challenging when you're dealing with some significant trials and obstacles and challenges that you're facing. And I just felt like taking that time and going out and being of service was a great way for me to keep Brendan and Travis's name and memory alive.
There's a lot of synergy, I feel, between our organizations. Generation Z, we focus on the personal development and building of leadership characteristics for a young group. And I really love how you guys are focused really about character education. Why was that the focus? Why is that so important to you guys to focus on that? Of all the things you could have worked with, and there are so many aspects of the audience that you could have worked with, why was that the one that you guys keyed in on?
Yeah, so we have several different initiatives that tie into kind of the personal development piece. And when you think about that, there's resources, there's leadership training, but then there's also mentorship. And that's really where the character development piece falls into play. And mentorship is such a huge part of character development, because we really feel that at the foundation, our veterans and our families of the fallen, they possess so many skills that are really incredibly important for our young adults to be able to emulate into their own life. We have a full curriculum. We talk through 24 different character strengths, and that can look through anything from, leadership to resiliency to appreciation of beauty, things that people don't always describe when they think of character, since it is a very vague word and has very different meanings to many people. But we really felt like it was important to provide that mentorship opportunity, because we think, not everybody wants to step up and serve in the military. And that's really not the intent of the program. It's really to help leverage the military community to go out and be of service to others and demonstrate some of these skills, the values that they possess, that they can teach our younger generations, that you can be of service and of value right at home. You don't have to necessarily wear a uniform in order to be of value and of service.
I like what you said, that character means different things to different people. So how would you define it for our audience so they could understand a little bit of where you guys are coming from?
Yeah, there are plenty of definitions of character, and I think it resonates differently with everyone. And I think that's really the beauty of character in itself. But to me, I have always identified, and this is really our ethos of the foundation. These are 5 words that Travis spoke before he left for that last and final deployment. If not me, then who? And to me, when I think of what good character looks like, I think it's about action. I think if it's not leaving it up to somebody else to go out and do the right thing, I think it's about being big in the little things, because I think when tough obstacles and things come our way, when you're kind of training yourself and you're figuring out how to incorporate this mantra of if not me, then who in your life, I think it challenges you that when you do get faced with these larger problems, you've already kind of taken the small steps to get yourself to the place where you need to be to do the right thing and to be of value. So that's what character means to me.
Wow, that's strong. I like that a lot. Julie, you like that?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And that, I mean, whenever I first looked at the website for the foundation, that mantra really stood out to me, and just the way that the foundation is able to dive into those different aspects of character that you mentioned. So how did the foundation narrow down these traits? As you mentioned, some of them we might not necessarily think of immediately when we think of character.
You know, it's we base a lot of our work around the science of positive psychology. And if some of our assessments and the ways that we evaluate some of our mentors and some of our youth, we've all really identified around those 24 character strengths. And because those allow a person, you know, a lot of what we're doing, we're talking about empowering individuals, going out, taking action and being of service. But a lot of that is like, okay, well, what's the importance of that? And the importance of that is because we want those individuals to be able to thrive. And when you hear this word thriving, there's a lot of different, I feel like it's a little bit of a buzzword, but it's actually a science behind it through the work and curriculum that we have under the foundation and the principles of positive psychology. So it's all about improving, you know, the well-being of our individuals, providing them with a forum so that, you know, when you're out there and you're really thriving, you're able to be a better, you know, a better student, a better parent, a better friend. There's so many things that allow us to function. And a lot of people see, you know, the work that we do as really a preventative measure when it comes to the mental health piece of this. And, you know, I think many of us can see right now that we're all faced with various challenges, whether it's through the pandemic, living in a time where our country feels very divided. You know, I think it's important for all of us to be running on all cylinders as much as we can. So I think the importance of the work that we're doing is probably of more value now than it ever has been. You know, getting those people to a place where they don't get themselves involved with, especially on the youth side, you know, disciplinary issues, you know, alcoholism, drug addiction, suicide. You know, there's so many things that when you're not in a good place or a good mental state, you can go to a really deep and dark place. And that's what we want to avoid by getting people out there, getting them action oriented, and being agents of change.
So the mentors are trained on these character traits, and then they're able to guide the youth that they mentor through these. How does the program work? Because this, I could see this as being a model just for anything, churches, community groups. I mean, it's just such a brilliant model.
Yeah, no, we work with youth groups, athletic groups. I mean, you name it. We've got all different, you know, avenues that we tap into to get this message out to, you know, our youth. But, you know, I think the biggest thing that I would say, and repeat the question again, James, I totally just got sidetracked on something.
Well, just how does it work? How do they connect together?
Yeah. So we offer the Character Does Matter program. We run it in two different forums. So one is more of a presentation style. So if we're working with an athletic group or a youth group where maybe we can talk to a larger audience, we'll narrow down, you know, probably 3 or 4 of those 24 character strengths and focus a presentation that kind of tailors to some of the challenges that you know, that school or that youth group that they've been dealing with. You know, we've done everything from talking about how, you know, leadership can play a role when it comes to bullying, you know, issues that our students are facing in school, and tying it into those character strengths so that the examples of how we're explaining it from the mentorship side are relevant and pertinent in those students' lives and how it can make an impact and make a difference. So the presentation style is one format, but what I see a lot of, you know, value in is really what we call our character and leadership course. So this is more of what I like to refer to as like experiential learning opportunities, where you put, you know, 3 to 4 veteran or families of the fallen who are providing the mentorship. You put them in front of a group of about 20 to 25 students. And they're working through, you know, like I said, they're picking, maybe not every single one of those character strengths gets discussed, but we have a curriculum that's built around all 24, and we just hand select which ones are relevant for those students and some of the challenges that they're facing. So we'll have, we'll put activities behind reinforcing some of the concepts that we're delivering. I think there's a lot of value in sharing and briefing information, but I also think there's a lot of value when you have the ability to work mentor and mentee in helping create change by understanding what are these character strengths, how are they relevant to your life, and how can you use this to be of value and be of service, whether that's through stuff that you have at home, through your friendships, through maybe you have, you're working, and even through school, just making those small changes. So character and leadership courses, more of the experiential learning, kind of that mentor and mentee relationship is really, put in the forefront. And then we have the style where you deliver it in more of a presentation. So if we have 1,000 students, at the Naval Academy, our president, Ryan Manion, she delivers the message and the programming there every year to potentially incoming plebes, incoming freshmen at the Academy. And that's a very different presentation because there's, 1,000 students. So you can't really focus on the experiential learning and having that one-on-one connection.
I really love that. I love the fact that you guys have keyed in on the most effective way to change folks is through the relationship piece.
Right.
That's something that the founder of Zig Ziglar's corporation, Mr. Ziglar, always said that, he was able to speak and deliver stuff, but it was really the one-on-one time that you could spend with folks that would cause change. Not all that he kind of alluded to was his presentations were the catalyst to motivate people to start to change.
Exactly. Very, 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 a lot of synergy here between what we're doing and what you all are doing as well.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of synergy. We've interviewed, I think about 2,500 youth between late teens to mid 20s. And we asked them what the biggest issues facing youth today were. And then we categorized them. And the one category that came up, and I think character lines up really well with this, is they said we have a problem with self-image. So we have a problem on who we see ourselves are. And I think I think character is a foundational portion. If you don't have the foundation of character in your life, then it's hard to really believe in yourself.
Right.
There's a lot of synergy there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something I wanted to ask, especially with getting to see these programs in action with youth and knowing that youth do have these self-image problems. And sometimes they hear things from older generations that there's no hope or that this generation just has these specific problems. What about your work has given you hope for the next generation?
Ooh, good question, Julia.
I really believe that, a lot of the youth that we've worked with, and I think there's, we've worked with everyone from, all kinds of different levels. Some students are struggling, whether it's at home, whether it's at school, and then we work with, students who are in some of the best schools across America and realize that they do have a little bit more of a privileged life. And, I think what gives me hope is, if we can figure out a way to get this message and get that mantra of if not me, then who out there, I really believe that the problems that, maybe Julia, like your generation is faced with, I believe that if they start to step up and take action and not rely on others, not rely on, government leaders, not rely on community leaders, but start to build up your own, what are your values? What's important to you? How can you incorporate this mantra into your life to make a difference? And I think if people really feel like they're empowered to go out and live a life of value, I really think that starts to shape you as an individual and who you want to be, what you want to see yourself as. And I think when you believe that and you really feel that, I think that starts to show and emulate in others. And I think it becomes very contagious. So I very much have hope because we've worked, like I said, with students all across, various different challenges, struggles, and some that, like I said, live more of a privileged life. But I feel like figuring out who you are, what you stand for, and what you want to be, I think just makes such a difference in the way you live your life. And then others will see that And I believe wholeheartedly that good news and good vibes, they're contagious. You know, I think we're all tired of being around negativity, but
Ooh.
I really believe our youth have the ability to step up and be of so much power and demonstrate so much good.
I mean, how many people or how many youth do you guys typically served in a year? Is that number even quantifiable? I mean, or is it?
Oh, yeah, 100%. So since the foundation's inception, we worked with over 375,000 students across the country.
There's a reach.
And,
Just think,
and those numbers are continuing to grow daily. I will say, even this past year in 2020, our biggest challenge was figuring out a way to pivot and adapt, because this message was still incredibly important, especially as, students are, they're missing those social connections. They're missing the interactions with their friends, that face to face, that I think no matter what, it's never replaceable. But I think getting that message in our curriculum out there was really important. And, I'm very happy to say that we were able to still work with schools, work with other youth groups to virtually implement a lot of this messaging as well.
yeah, you say 375, but the thought that immediately came to me was exponentially how many more youth are being impacted by what you're doing, because each one of them are probably impacting an unknown number. So you're in the millions. I mean, you literally you have to be in the millions that you've impacted every time. That's got to be exciting.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I think it's contagious, and I love hearing the stories from, students who have gone out, they've started, their own, if not me, then who clubs in their school.
Oh.
They've done all kinds of things that have gone beyond just getting the facilitation of what the program is and getting the curriculum, but they've actually gone out and really, shown tangible ways, whether it was through service projects, whether it was through starting an If Not Me Then Who service club and getting other students involved. I mean, I agree with you, James. I would love to be able to say this number is probably within the millions because of that, that contagious factor. It spreads.
So they're starting service clubs at their schools and stuff. Is that something that kind of evolved on its own from the youth that you served, or is something that you guys initiated?
Yeah, our mentors, when they finish up delivering the program, they always leave other ways for the students to get involved. And, like I said, we're all about empowering those individuals. Like, here's the steps that you can take. That's up there on one of the slides. That is an opportunity for you to go out and, start a club at your school, get others involved. And it's really incredible to see what students are capable of and what they take and what means something to them and what they run with and do on their own. And to me, I think there's so much power there.
All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's your favorite character trait of the 24?
Honestly, that one's tough for me, but I will tell you, probably my most favorite this past year that I've had to really lean into more is gratitude. I think gratitude is incredibly important, because I think when we're all faced with really difficult situations, it's hard to look at something and figure out what you can be grateful for. But I felt like this past year, I really, I started, and this might sound a little cheesy, but like I started a gratitude journal, because I physically had to force myself to write down something positive that I was grateful for. And it really started to shift my mindset about, like, okay, these are the circumstances we're faced with, but here's the things that I still have, and I feel very blessed and fortunate, and it really shifted the way that I looked at the world this past year, and it shaped the way that I felt like I, was a better friend, a better wife, and a better mother, and a better, member of the Travis Manion Foundation,
There is a lot of synergy here, because Mr. Ziegler, one of his most famous quotes was, of all the attitudes that you can have, the best one to have is the attitude of gratitude. And he preached that so fervently during his life. And actually, a lot of the things that are part of our curriculum are related to what you just said, of developing a journal, of developing that habit.
Yep. Habits and reinforce good things. for
Yeah,
sure.
it also helps build that self-esteem as well, because
Right.
then you can look back and say, hey, look at the things that I've written that I am grateful for.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
wow, this is really, really cool. One of the questions I've asked every guest that we've had, since actually your friend Justin Mears has come on, is what is the best advice that you have ever been given?
That's a really good way to end things. You know, I will say that the best advice. So for me, I'll just share a little bit about just me personally. I am a creature of habit, and I love structure. I love planning things. I like having things like put together. So for me, change is something that has been very hard for me. And I'm sure just based upon, what I shared with you all in my introduction, going through my loss, working through the, various different growth and challenge through the work that we do at Travis Manion Foundation, getting remarried, becoming a mom. Change has always been something it's difficult for me. But somebody once told me that, don't be afraid of change, because you learn more about yourself and you find true growth through change. And I used to think that that was really a waste of time. But as I've gotten older, I have actually just 100% lived by that. I really have found a way to embody it. And when I know I have a big change or something challenging coming my way, I always try to go into it thinking that this may be hard. It may put me in a weird position, but let's look at what I'm going to learn from it. And I will tell you, I've probably grown more from the obstacles and challenges that I've been faced with versus living a life that was just, even keeled, kind of ran the course, and didn't really have to go through a lot of the obstacles that I've been faced with.
Julio's going to know this, that I love to have hashtag statements, and true growth happens through change is going to be the hashtag of this interview, because I love that. I love that completely going forward.
Well, good. Maybe it'll stick with someone, and I hope it helps them,
Well, I mean, it's so true. I mean, and the youth that our organization and your organization serve, if there's any generation that has had to undergo change in a more dramatic way than Generation Z has,
Yes.
it has not happened during my lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, I tell everyone, like, when we're talking about, the challenges, whether it's, food insecurity, mental health, all of these things, I always say, I always feel bad for the younger generation versus us, because I can't imagine trying to go through virtual school. I can't imagine not being around my friends and having the opportunity to just sit down and have lunch with them. I feel like as adults, we're more equipped. We've been through various, obstacles and challenges, and we've had chances to build up and really understand how to become more resilient. And I think a lot of that is through some of these life experiences. And with our younger generations, like, I can't imagine, the leaders that they will be one day, because of all of these things that they've experienced and gone through that previous generations have never even had to face at such a young age.
That is so true. And so my son, just on a side note, my son is a senior, supposed to be senior at his high school.
Yeah.
He has still not returned to in-person learning, and he is coming up on 12 months. In about 2 weeks, it'll be 12 months, and that will be when he returns. So it'll be a full year. And the way the rotation has been between now and the scheduled graduation, he will only attend school 4 weeks on campus. 4 weeks for your entire senior year.
Your senior year. And I just feel like that, I mean, all the other years, they're important, but I feel like everyone lives for their senior year, because, it's all about the next step and the next change. And the last year you get to spend with your friends. Like, I attended a couple virtual graduation ceremonies last May, last June. And I remember watching them. They were beautifully done, but I just remember thinking, like, I can't fathom this being like my graduation, like what I would have had to do if I didn't get to see my friends or feel like I got to give my final goodbyes, talk to my teachers, people that have been role models and mentors in your life. So I really believe, and I hope and I pray that this is all just growth for them. kind of like what I shared earlier, these changes and challenges, I hope they learn, and this makes them stronger and better adults. As even for you, Julia, as you go to school and think about what college you're going to, I hope these experiences provide you a way forward that helps you later on in life.
I know I definitely appreciate that message, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers in Generation Z are looking for ways to embrace that change rather than just run from it or pretend it's not happening. So what kind of next steps would you encourage? Maybe getting plugged in with the Travis Manion Foundation? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I think obviously I believe very wholeheartedly in what we do at the Travis Manion Foundation. I would always encourage anybody to go to the website, travismanion.org, click on Join the Mission. We have something for everyone. It's not just veterans and families of the fallen, but we are a community of everyone, and I think that's really the beauty of bringing people together and seeing what they can collectively do on a larger scale. So of course I would encourage that, but I also feel, do what's right for you. If there's something you're passionate about, maybe you're passionate about helping out at your local food shelter because there's, a lot of food shortages that are in your city. Go out and do that. I think it has to be something that means something to you personally for you to generate and feel like you've created value from being a part of that. So, and I always tell people, don't feel like you have to do something so grand. Sometimes it's all about the little small things that you can build upon and say, hey, maybe I learned that this was something that was really important to me, and you build and grow on that. So to each their own is something I believe in, but of course would love to have anybody listening, especially, your fellow colleagues and friends and classmates, definitely join us at travismanion.org and click on Join the Mission.
So besides going to the website, how else can they connect with Travis Manion and yourself? Where can they find you? How can they connect with you if they want to learn more and make that personal connection?
Yeah, I'm happy to share. I don't know, James, if you want to, share my email or contact, but I'm happy to take, any type of personal connections or questions. I do believe that going to the website and clicking on Join the Mission is the easiest way, because that's like the one-stop shop where you can see everything and how you can get involved based upon whether you're a veteran, whether you're youth, whether you're a civilian. It shows you the different opportunities in your area that you live. But if that's, too much of an obstacle, my email is Amy, AMY, at travismanion.org. So feel free to shoot me an email and I can connect you or get you connected with the right person in your area as well.
So audience, we're going to put in the show notes. So if you look down, you'll see their website, you'll see the email address and any social media contacts as well so they can find you on Facebook or Instagram as well and follow the journey that you have. Not had too many interviews where I feel such an immediate connection with an organization like this. The things that you say are the things that we say. And I really love what you guys are doing. And I really appreciate this, your time with us today. It's really meaning a lot. It's encouraging me. Yeah.
Well, I will certainly give a quick shout out and a thank you to Jason Dodge, who is our lead program manager in the Southeast region. So he's just outside of Atlanta, and he's done a phenomenal job of really connecting and, putting relationships like this at the forefront, because I think these discussions are really important. And I hope, even if one person walks away today and they learned something or they took away some information that can be of value, I think that that's incredibly important, because I believe that it takes just one and then one builds into more. So.
Well, thank you for your time, and really for a heartfelt thank you from Generation Ziegler for taking time out of your schedule to come and be our guest today and sharing with us. I've really enjoyed this. So thank you, Amy.
Yeah. Thank you, James. And thank you, Julie.
And thank you, audience, for joining us today. Be sure to like it and share it with your friends.